Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Our guest today is my good friend Rafi Farber from the Endgame Investor. Welcome back, sir. It's been a long time. It's such a huge pleasure having you come down to Wall Street Silver.
Hey, Ivan, it has been a long time, and I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, huge pleasure. I wanted to get you on to talk about everything that's going on in the economy. Last time we talked, silver wasn't where it's at, gold wasn't where it's at right now. In the past 2, 3, 4 months, you've seen precious metals really kick up and really take off. Where do you see gold going? We'll start with gold. Where do you see gold going from now to the end of 2024?
The end of 2024. Well, I usually don't have hard dollar targets, but I can try to tell you what I see based on what might happen in the monetary system. Um, right. So we have the situation now where QT, quantitative tightening, is continuing. And that sounds like a technical term and it's annoying, but it basically means the pool of dollars on which to build debt is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the pool of debt is growing because people are taking out more debt with less dollars, with less of a monetary base, take out that debt. Um, if we do see some kind of mathematical oopsie with that, meaning like people can't take out debt anymore because there aren't enough dollars on which to take it out,
Right.
then you have the beginning of a collapse of another pyramid. And if that happens, gold and silver should go down sharply, very temporarily, like
Mm-hmm.
ephemerally, until the Fed moves. Is in terms of what gold and silver are going to do until that happens, I really don't know. My thesis is that there's going to be one last crash in that sense of the debt pyramid crumbling down, and then central banks are going to have to move all over the world. And
Right.
once they do, then I think there's going to be an end game. And now we could discuss, is that going to be the last one? Or is there going to be another cycle? Like, let's say the last one was in 2020, one
Right.
before that was in 2008. Is there going to be one in 2024 and then wait another 2 3 years and there's going to be another final one? I don't think so. I think this is going to be one final one. And it could easily happen by the end of 2024, but it could take a little longer than that. The key is to understand what's going on and not necessarily look for a dollar target in either
Right.
gold or silver to cash out, and then you say I made X percent or I made this amount of dollars, now I can retire, because the point is that the dollar is dying and it's going to die completely at some point. And once it does, it doesn't matter what your dollar profits are. So you have to kind of switch your mentality from trying to use gold and silver to make dollar profits to using your dollars to stack gold and silver and then getting out of the dollar system. It's the dollar system
Right.
that's the problem. Um, so what I've been researching most recently is that I'm seeing that bank reserves are falling. The bank reserves is
Yeah.
basically that high powered money. It's not quite the monetary base. It's something very close to it. And with the technical differences, doesn't really matter. But bank reserves on which the banks build their own debt is shrinking
Right.
slowly. And the last crisis, the regional banking crisis, happened when we were at like $3 trillion of bank reserves, and now we're at like 3.27 trillion. So we've got like a $270 billion buffer, assuming that the crisis point is at 3 trillion. It could be a little bit higher than that, a little bit lower than that,
Right.
whatever. Um, and we could hit that number, in a few weeks, a few months. But once we do, then I would say, like, if you don't have your full positions and you've been wanting to have more gold and silver, if we're at $3 trillion in reserves, then at that point I might wait for a little bit of a swoop down if I'm trading.
Right.
If I'm stacking, it doesn't really make a difference, because once that happens and you're stacking, then premiums go like way up and you don't really save any money by waiting for a better price anyway.
Right. Right.
So just keep stacking is basically the message. I mean,
And you're seeing, yeah, you absolutely nailed it, Rafi. And you're seeing central banks buying gold at record pace. Like they're buying gold at paces we've never seen before in history. So, like what you're saying, they just like how we're stacking, and it doesn't really matter if you're trying to make a profit on the silver or gold. Do you think central banks are doing the same thing? That what do they see that we don't? Do they see some type of turmoil coming and either in the commercial sector or what do you see? Why are banks buying so much gold?
well, I'm not going to go into their minds and try to give you every reason that they're thinking. I don't know what they're talking about in their board meetings or anything. But I can tell you, as someone who is basically sane, and you could argue that maybe I'm crazy. I thought I was crazy from 2020 to 2022. Everyone walking around in masks, and I refused to. And I'm okay.
Right.
Maybe I'm nuts. I don't know, but I just did did what I had to do. So if I'm just trying to look at the world as an average guy, which I think I am,
Hmm.
and I see the presidential debate, and there's clearly two demented people. One is more demented than the other. I would call Trump pretty demented also, because everything he says is like, okay, it's grammatically correct and he can put a sentence together, but I wouldn't say it like any of it makes any kind of deep sense or anything. So this is the choice of who leads the most powerful army,
Right.
and you have these borderline political revolutions going on in Europe, and it's just a mathematical certainty. They have to keep printing more and more and more money, and the world is based on the dollar standard. So if I was a central bank, and I see what's going on with Japan and currency collapses in Argentina,
Right.
and that's being cleaned up a little bit now. And Brazil, I think, Venezuela, South America is like dead, and other currencies are weakening. So what would I do? If I was a central bank, I would buy gold just to be safe, because that's what people, even people who don't really quite understand what's going on, that's what they do. It's in our
Right.
DNA. So if you're a central bank, you do that. Now, I just want to say one thing about central bank gold buying. I'm not sure that it matters. It might matter. I haven't really decided on this.
Right.
The first thing that take a step back for a second. When I see these headlines, let's say the BRICS countries are moving to other currencies and they're diversifying currencies, and other central banks are buying other currencies. I was like, who cares about that? Because other
Right.
currencies are just dollar derivatives. So fine, they're stepping away from the dollar one step down the pyramid or one step up the pyramid, whatever direction you want to say. But other currencies are still dollars because other central banks still own dollars. Now,
Absolutely.
as for the gold, central banks buying gold, it could be significant, but it might not be. And the reason that it might not be is that once the dollar does collapse, and by that I mean there is no longer an exchange rate between gold and silver and the dollar anymore, which means the dollar cannot buy anything,
Hmm.
by the Misesian regression principle, which I hammer home, which is the point of the endgame investor. I try to get a logical backing to all of this so you understand what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, it might not matter, because once that major pyramid falls, then the gold that central banks have is going to have to be tested. It's not like they can start a Ponzi scheme from the middle of the scheme, right? In
Right.
order to start a Ponzi scheme, you have to start with basic trust from your clients and a record of profits, a record of experience, and then you can start messing around with stuff and fooling around with your books.
Right.
But what they want to do is they want to say, oh, the dollar collapsed. Well, look, we're the central bank of whatever, the European central bank, and we have all this gold. So accept euros because they're backed by gold. Well, why would anybody believe it if the dollar just collapsed? The people are going to have to actually be able to exchange this stuff, and the central bank might not
Absolutely.
want to do that. And if they're forced to do that in order to prove that their currencies are worth something, then what's the difference between a central bank has it or you have it? It's much safer if you have it, or not, put it in a vault somewhere or whatever,
Right.
or
Right.
a service, than trusting a central bank, who the purpose of their existence is to fool you. So
Yeah, because they could do the same thing with the like what the happen if the US dollar collapses, if they come out with a euro backed by gold, they can do the same thing, right? It's still
yeah,
just fiat printed. There was even an article, Rafi, about a few weeks ago stating that there's now 63 financial institutions on the FDIC's problem bank list.
uh-huh.
Do you think 2024 is the year of major bank collapse, or 2024, 2025? Last year we had four banks go under and insolvent. What about this year?
I hope. I hope, because look, it's a race between demented people starting nuclear war and the collapse of the currency. That's what we're
Right,
talking about. This is, I don't believe that the world is going to end, but the scale of what's going on now has the potential to end the planet. I'm not a
right.
doomer in that sense that I'm building a bunker and I expect nuclear war, but I see, like, if I were God, right, and I see the chess pieces going on here, this is like 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis kind of stuff,
Yeah, times
right?
10.
Yeah, it's except we're not even running commercials public service announcements like the 1950s duck and cover. We're not doing that. We're just like showing debates of demented people yelling at each other about golf. Like, what the hell is going on here?
I don't know.
So,
It's just crazy. It's
yeah.
absolutely crazy. Yeah. Now, we talked about gold, we talked about everything that's happening in the central banks. What about silver? Where do you, I know it's kind of the same thing, gold, silver, you have your same idea on it, but do you think silver now, that gold is making its move the past 2, 3 months, do you think silver will finally p play that catch-up game? I know it briefly hit $30 and we've been waiting for silver to hit $30 for so long for that breakout. What do you see with silver?
I just found out something that I never knew before, or that not never, I wasn't following it, but it was shocking to me. A friend called me yesterday and
Hmm.
said, Rafi, I got a platinum coin and I want to trade you for silver. I was like, yeah,
Really?
okay. Okay. So I have plenty of silver. I didn't have any platinum. I mean, I've always wanted one because I think it's cool.
Me too,
So I was
yeah.
like, yeah, sure. So I looked at the ratio, I calculated. It was like, okay, so I'll give you 34 ounces for 1 ounce of platinum. He's like, yeah, okay. So, I go to my silver stacks, I stack 34-ounce coins, and
Nice.
he gives me a platinum ounce. And then I look, and then he leaves. And then I look at the ratio going back to like 1971 that you can find on Gold Charts or us, and it's at an all-time low, meaning
Um,
silver as at an all-time high, except for 1980 itself, except for that brief
right.
spike. So silver is at an all-time high relative to platinum, right?
Really? Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Not going back to like 19th century, going back
right,
to
right.
the fiat era.
Right, right. Oh, that's
Right.
so
So
interesting.
I was like, wow, I just got a really good deal, maybe, you know. So
That's super cool. So
um
now you're a platinum owner too.
yeah, I don't think it's considered a stack until you can put one on top of the other. So I'm not quite a stacker of platinum yet. But
Yeah,
give me one more coin and I'll get there. In terms of the concept of silver over gold, well, we know that gold is bank money and silver
right.
is the public money, right? The public can't pass around gold; it's too valuable. But use it to buy businesses or yachts or cars, or make big deals between countries, that kind of thing.
Right.
When the so you would expect that once the banks, the central banks, the big players, once they smell a currency crisis happening, they'll start stacking gold, which is what we're seeing. The central banks don't stack silver because they don't have room for it. It's not efficient enough.
Hmm.
And there's only a few central banks and there's only a few vaults that they can put stuff in.
Yeah.
So they're going to stack gold. And then they're not going to tell the public that there's a currency problem. They're just going to keep stacking gold. And then once the public catches on to the currency crisis, they will go to silver, not for any intellectual reason, but for fight or flight response, economic
Right.
fight or flight response. That's what people will do. So once we see silver really making a moonshot in terms of dollars and in terms of gold, we should see a 15-to-1 ratio of gold to silver.
Wow.
And that should be literally the end game because that's when the public gives up on the currency.
Yeah.
And it's happened 3 times since 1919, and the currency has recovered each time. This time, I do not think it will, and we'll be at a 15-1 ratio of gold to silver, and that'll be it. And then for a while, for a few months, until we build up civilization and a monetary system to a sufficient degree, people will be passing around these coins to buy basic necessities for a little while.
Absolutely. They can only kick the can down the road for so long with the US dollar. There's so much turmoil. It'll, like what you said, since 1913, it was 3 times. I'm sure it'll be a fourth time and it'll probably be the last one. But Rafi, it's such a huge pleasure having you come down to Wall Street Silver. Before you go though, where can people connect with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, check me out on Substack, Endgame Investor at Substack. You can subscribe there for free, and I put a nice chunk of my articles. The introductions are free, so you can see what I'm talking about. But if you want to
Nice.
become a paid subscriber, it's just $200 a year, and you'll see everything that I'm writing. You can check out my YouTube channel, Rafi Farber, and I've got a patron for as little as $3 a month, talking about the more spiritual aspects of money and economics and government
Nice.
through a biblical lens.
Nice. And your Twitter. You have Twitter, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Twitter, Rafi Farber, if you're interested in more political stuff. But you know,
I'll put it all in the description below so everyone can find you. Rafi, again, it's such a huge pleasure having you come down to Wall Street Silver. And yeah, again, we appreciate you a lot. So thank you.
Thanks for having me again. Looking forward to coming back again.
Yeah, of course. Talk to you soon.